So when Jesus came to Jericho, the streets were packed. Shoulder to shoulder, voices buzzing, everyone pressing in, I should say, to get even a glimpse of who this guy was. I mean, you can picture it. We talked about that in our children's time. The children were weaving through the crowd, trying to get through the legs, inching closer to the front, fearless and just determined to see what was the big hubbub. Adults standing on their tiptoes, stretching their necks, craning around, trying to peer over those who had gotten there first. And then some further back, just giving up after a while, settling for hearing what they could, unsure if they'd ever really see at all. And some of us know what it is like to stand in a crowd like that. Our kids certainly indicated that they do. And somewhere in this crowd was Zacchaeus, too short to see over anyone and too disliked for anyone to make space. He wasn't just physically short, he was a tax collector, right? And so he was short on welcome, and he was short on kindness, and he was short on belonging. So he did something sort of bold and ridiculous. He ran ahead and climbed up in a tree. Many of us as children have climbed up in trees, and we know that that's easier when you're young and not so easy as you age, but he was determined. It must have seemed strange to some of the people around, seeing this man balancing on the branches just to get a better view, but sometimes reaching for hope looks like that. I think about moments like that in our own lives, times when we want to see clearly, but something or someone is blocking our view. And a story came to me. I was thinking back when I was in St. Louis. There's this gorgeous outdoor theater called the Muni Theater, and I bought tickets, and I was in the cheaper seats, so they were closer together and didn't have as much view, but I'm pretty tall, so I typically can see over most people. But in this performance, a lady and her kids sat down, and I thought, oh great, I'll have a great view. And then they all moved over one seat, and their friend sat down. And their friend was really tall and really broad, and I thought, well, okay, they have every right to be here, just like I have every right. There was not really a judging, but I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, I'm on the aisle. I'll just lean over for the entire performance and look down the aisle. My efforts were thwarted, however, when this restless person leaned left and right and turned their head and bowed, and I found myself doing this. And then I thought, what about the person behind me? It's about halfway through the performance it took me to figure out that they're blocking me, but now I'm doing the same thing to the person who is sitting behind me. And sometimes it takes a little while to figure that out. And this is how sometimes it is in everyday life. We're in front, and we don't even notice what's happening behind us, or who we might be blocking, or who we might be missing. Sometimes we're the ones in the back, straining and stretching, trying to see something good, something true, just a tiny little bit of hope. And people can be too short in all kinds of ways. Some are short on money, short on chances, short on help, short on hope, short on being taken seriously. Some are told quietly or loudly that they are not enough, not successful enough, not holy enough, not strong enough. They're too different, they're too late, they're too broken. And little by little, they get pushed to the edges, to the back of the crowd. And then they're back in the back. They become unseen, unnoticed, uncared for. Not because God put them there, but because the world did. And what Zacchaeus didn't know as he was up in that tree, and we forget this sometimes too, is that Jesus was already looking for him. When Jesus reached that exact spot, he did not pass by or wait for Zacchaeus to speak first. He stopped, looked up in that tree, and said his name and said, "Zacchaeus, come down from that tree. I must stay at your house today." Before Zacchaeus apologized, before he explained himself, before he promised to do better, Jesus called him to himself by name. The crowd saw only his failures, but Jesus saw the person that God created him to be, a beloved child of God. And like Zacchaeus, Jesus knows our names. And so I'm going to invite you to gently hold your hands out in front of you. I'm going to imagine your own name there. If you've got it, right? Your own name. And you're going to bring it into your heart. And I want everyone to say, "God knows my name. God knows my name." And I want you to either turn to somebody in a pew or make eye contact, even if they don't make eye contact back, and I want you to point. And I want you to say, "Jesus knows your name." Jesus knows your name at home, too. That is what Jesus was doing for Zacchaeus, calling him by his name and reminding him of his truest identity. And that's what Jesus does still for us today, because of this realization. We can come down from our trees. We can come down not nervously, but we can come down with joy, just like Zacchaeus came down joyfully. His whole heart was shifted because of this. And he decided to change his ways in response to Jesus recognizing him. He decided to pay back what he owed, not exactly what he owed, but double what he owed, more than what he owed, to pay those back that he might have cheated. The crowd grumbled, of course. They always do. They thought Jesus should have chosen someone more deserving. But Jesus wasn't looking for the person that had already arrived. He was looking for the one ready to come down. Zacchaeus climbed the tree because he wanted to see Jesus. He came down because Jesus wanted to be with him. We all have those places where we climb up in life, places where we hide or protect ourselves or wait until we feel good enough. But Jesus doesn't stand at the bottom of the tree and wait for us to get perfect. He looks up in the tree and he says, "Tom, Mary, Susie, Jenny, come down from that tree and walk with me." The joy of Zacchaeus is the joy offered to everyone. Those in front of the crowd, those in the back of the crowd, those up in a tree just trying to glimpse a little bit of hope. We can come down. We can begin again. We can live through and from the names that God speaks over us instead of the names that the world hands out. And when we do, we discover that Jesus has already made room for us, joyfully and freely and fully. And then it doesn't stop there. Once our feet are on the ground, we're called to turn around and notice who's still stuck behind us in the crowd, who is still climbing trees just to see over. Because God's grace doesn't end with us. It calls us to look back and to make room for the ones still lagging behind. It sends us to make space for others, to name them as beloved children of God, and to lift them up, that they might have even one little chance to look down from that tree and glimpse hope as it walks by. Amen.